Unreal Engine 5 is killing games. And I've been talking about this for a long time. And I've been catching hate for it. 'Cause people are like, Unreal Engine, it looks good. It makes to where developers with not as much money could make games easier. Well, guess what? I don't want them to make games easier. I don't want it to be easier to make games, because then people are just going to make slop. They're going to take the easy way out every time. I like it when it's hard to make games, because that's how you get good creativity. That's how you get workarounds around problems. That's how you get stuff like I think jumping straight up was a glitch, was it not? A lot of the game mechanics that we use today started out as glitches because it was hard to make video games.
Unreal 5 is killing games? What?
This is an investigative report addressing the most negative aspects affecting modern game development, specifically the deterioration of realistic graphics and the manufactured increase in computing cost. I am Kevin Jimenez, the founder of Threat Interactive, a new game production studio aiming to unlock the full potential this next generation of gaming can provide. And we'll show just how by the end of this video.
Okay.
There are 3 interconnected factors that need to be addressed: creativity, performance, and visuals. Let's begin with creativity. Several videos online are already bringing awareness to the decreasing quality of gameplay, open worlds, and the microtransactions affecting the majority of games.
The 2 biggest video game makers in America now make most of their money not from people buying games, but on subscriptions and spending within those games.
Yeah.
In fact, electronic...
That's why
it's getting real rough too, because games are starting to fail, games with microtransactions.
every game does it.
and Take-Two Interactive both make a staggering 75% of their money from what's called microtransactions.
Jesus.
However, I
75%?
personally loathe the popular critique that photorealistic games are not fun, they lack art style, and we need worse graphics to fix it.
I want shorter games with worse graphics. Yes, I have been saying this. I want $30 Xbox 360 games. If we got PS5 and Xbox Series X games costing $100, I want $30 Xbox 360 games again. I do not care about these multi-hundred-hour experiences left and right. I don't care. I just want my straight-up 10-15-hour experiences for $30. Not full price. Not full price. I'm not paying full price for something that's the size of a 360 game. But those are the games that I want.
Yeah.
This defeatist attitude is a byproduct of modern development, not visual progress. As industry game developer veterans put it, one thing you do is 10 things you don't. Currently, graphics dominate the do list, leaving gameplay and art style in the don't category.
He's completely right. I feel like visuals for games totally take precedent over gameplay. It's so weird how somehow with video games, gameplay isn't priority number 1.
Graphics are currently in a chaotic state, but once the entire developer industry can eat...
That's because you can't play a trailer, except for when they release playable trailers like PT. But you can't play a trailer. You have to go based on how it looks. You got to hype people up. That's what they think. And that's all that they care about when it comes to marketing. How good does it look? Not how fun does it look.
Easily create highly performant photorealism within their engines, competition can begin to solely focus on art direction and gameplay.
Yeah.
But recent opportunities for outstanding games with captivating stories and incredible gameplay have been tarnished by the next 2 factors. 30 FPS on next-gen consoles is unacceptable for many reasons.
Because it sucks. That's the only reason it matters. Why is 30 FPS unacceptable? Because it sucks. If you look at it, it looks like it sucks. It's not even a question. It's awful.
It appears choppy and promotes a reliance on accessibility such as motion blur.
Yeah.
30 FPS also induces extreme judder and motion on numerous screens. With only 30 frames, the quality of gameplay logic and basic responsiveness falls short, especially when tons of other titles offer that same basic responsiveness.
That's right.
There are numerous 8th generation console titles that ran near photorealistic visuals at 60 FPS, and that was on 2013 2 teraflop hardware.
In my opinion, I feel like the expectation should be like 80 to 100 FPS, if not more. Like at this
Right now, I expect 90. Like that's my standard is 90. That's what I'm looking for in games is 90.
point, I don't even think 60 is enough to have like a really good, fluid, feel-good game. Yeah, like 120. Yeah, exactly.
FPS titles like
120
PS4 are kind of excused here, but modern studios are churning out these.
A lot of people say 144, but I got a 144 monitor. Well, technically, it's a 165.
Half-baked games with absurd requirements.
Well, here's
create
what the problem
excuse
is, right?
But
Like, look at
modern
this.
studios are-
I don't know. I thought Remnant 2 was good. But, like, slop. Okay, I guess. And, like, these two, RoboCop, I don't know about this one. And people did like Alan Wake 2, to be fair. I thought Remnant 2 had good graphics. But so many of these games are just garbage games. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about how when a game is bad in one thing, in a lot of cases, it means it's going to be bad in everything else, too. Like, you know, Starfield, Suicide Squad, and Forspoken, these games are garbage in like 7 different ways.
Churning out these half-baked games with absurd requirements, creating an illusion that 13 teraflop 2021 architecture isn't powerful enough for basic photorealistic performance standards set years ago. This leads us to our final issue. The basic standard of 60 FPS is only offered at the cost of our next and biggest problem, visuals. I firmly advocate for photorealism, but the industry is advancing in it in a manner that is worthless during basic movement, through a cancer in real-time rendering. A graphics programming scapegoat that is destroying every game in its path.
What?
It's called TAA, and that stands for Temporal Anti-Aliasing. And this includes upscalers. There are great videos trying to bring awareness about them.
I talk so much about upscaling, and I try and tell people all the time that the hardware that they're using is not 4K. It is being upscaled to 4K. And nobody listens. They're like, oh, it looks fantastic. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It looks like that it was 1440 upscaled to 4K. That's what it looks like. You can tell if you have a trained eye for it. And once you know, and you can't unsee it. I guess they're just blind to it because they've been playing on shitty consoles their whole lives.
But Digital Foundry has an ignorant video that is quickly spreading inaccurate information that is damaging real-time rendering. I will expose false narratives as I show why TA has
I don't know
ruined modern
anything about
optimization trends
this.
in conjunction with an abuse.
I know like this much about it. I don't know very much. I just know that upscaling bad. Upscaling real bad. I tried using an upscaler for images and videos. Man, does it make it look bad. It makes it look fake. Like, why are you trying to put upscalers in photorealistic games? It just makes them look unrealistic.
Use of the power offered in current generation consoles. TAA and upscalers stem from anti-aliasing, effects that aim to mimic the benefits.
Why is he dressed up like Ellen DeGeneres? Why do that? What? Because, he's Canadian. Oh. Okay, never mind.
It's a 4K plus rendering, because 4K 60 FPS on affordable hardware, including that generation consoles, isn't feasible. True 4K or higher rendering ensures smooth edges on objects, better sampling on textures, thin objects, and specular highlights.
You know what's funny? When I show my friends my PC setup and I play a game, it'll be the same game that they're running. They'll be running it in 4K. I'll be running it in straight up 1440 or even 1080 sometimes. And they'll be like, wow, PC graphics are so far ahead of the console graphics. And I'm like, yeah, not really in my case though. It's because your shit is being upscaled. You don't realize that this is 1440p right now.
As you decrease the resolution, stair-stepping aliasing emerges, and thin details on meshes and specular highlighting breaks apart. FXA addresses stair-stepping for a cheap cost, but introduces noticeable blur on the entire image.
Yeah, it just blurs everything out. Yeah.
SMAA eliminates these same edges without any blur, making it much more superior. In fact, the only advantage 4K downsample to 1080p versus 1080p with just SMAA applied is thin detail and specular sampling. But modern TAA is designed to run at any resolution by jittering the rendering view in 8 or more positions as frames.
Yeah, I noticed that. Damn, I had no idea why this happened.
Are generated. After pixel reprojection logic is calculated and designed, the past frames are combined, creating an 8K-like resolution addressing thin, undersampled objects and specular highlighting.
Yeah.
But all versions of these designs have several issues. Temporal designs are destructive to object or character motion within view. The problems I'm about to show aren't usually visible under a slower threshold of motion, which is why the industry markets with slow cinematic trailers or graphical showcases. but most
What the fuck? I feel like I don't even want to watch the rest of this video.
I don't want to watch the rest of it. It's scaring me. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's why they do the slow videos. I've complained about that a lot. Like, why are these videos so slow?
Because it's gonna make me see things that I haven't seen. That I'm not seeing them right now. It's like this is like a fucking Morpheus red pill blue pill moment. That like after I watch this video, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, now I see it everywhere. Yeah,
Fuck.
wake up. All right, let's get woke.
Let's go.
produced from gameplay gets annihilated with ghosting, blur, and smearing visuals. This is why still or slow image quality comparisons by major tech influencers are both worthless and misleading. What's the point in playing a realistic game that looks like this during basic player interaction?
So I should be playing with the anti-aliasing off, or at least the TAA. I turn my anti-aliasing off completely because it makes my games jitter. I didn't know that was an actual thing.
YouTube
Wow.
compression conveniently hides these effects of TAA and is usually mistaken for video compression artifacts. The 4K on YouTube resembles native uncompressed 1080p more than actual native uncompressed 4K.
Oh man.
Chances are you're playing games through an HDMI or better,
Yeah?
meaning your game's image quality is uncompressed. Temporal solutions and motion degrade resolution similar to low bitrate video compression. So having TAA on your gameplay is like adding compression to your gaming
I didn't even so like if he's looking at it frame by frame,
similar
look
to
at
low
this.
bitrate video compression. So having TAA on your gameplay is like adding compression to your gaming experience. Because of current hardware prices that aren't changing anytime soon, 1080p and 1440p remain the most consumer-friendly target resolutions.
Oh my wait, oh my god. Look at the difference.
Soon, 1080p and 1440p remain the most
Jesus.
consumer-friendly target resolutions.
What the fuck was that?
1080p and 1440p remain the most consumer-friendly target resolutions. But TAA ruins these resolutions the most.
Oh my
TAA
god.
and upscalers not only ruin affordable gaming resolutions, but also damage luxury resolutions for those with enthusiast-grade graphic GPUs. TAA and upscalers are often bundled with ugly sharpeners that fail to fix ghosting or restore the original clarity and detail stripped away from smearing.
Yeah.
The FTA
Watch the
subreddit,
graph.
up
Yeah.
until the creation of the r/motion clarity subreddit, remained the only online community where consumers could finally speak loud against the industry's oxymoron stance on realistic graphics.
Uh-huh.
And they've listed hundreds of games.
Dude, look at that sword.
I missed it. Yeah, go back.
I love videos like this because it's like you begin the video by thinking that it's just some nerd that has like an autistic fixation on something that nobody cares about. And then you end the video and you're like, wow.
Corporations are tricking us and manipulating us because it's cheaper so they can make more money. Money! It's always money.
This is fucked. This is awful. Yes, I know. It's based. I know. Look at it.
And they've listed
I'm glad I decided to watch this video. This is blowing my mind.
hundreds of games with
I know. Look at it.
And they've listed hundreds of games
That's
with
bad.
forced TAA, with recent titles throwing out traditional AA options for upscaling
Did you see the way the sword was just like skipping in the air? Like it was just not in places?
methods only. Remember the SMAA versus 4K comparisons
Yeah.
earlier? You could get the same sampling quality on thin and specular by reusing a single pass frame, which means long ghosting trails, blur, and smearing could be eliminated. I have personally compiled several pieces of data showing these temporal methods could be redesigned to prevent all these hideous motion issues, which are listed in the video description. But clear and good TAA will never become mainstream because the smeary nature of current temporal solutions are being exploited to cover up lazy and cheap development practices. In hundreds of game titles, if you can fully disable temporal solutions, you are punished severely with numerous rendering problems. Temporal dithering and frame blending dependent rendering aspects.
Oh, that's terrible.
Temporal dithering
Look.
and frame blending dependent rendering aspects.
I've noticed that in like Resident Evil games a lot. Resident Evil games, it happens a lot. Especially in Resident Evil 2. They have a lot of these features in it.
Holy shit.
Bloom. Soft shadows. Denoise replacement for ray trace shadows. Ambient occlusion.
So it's just designed with all of this in
Screen
mind.
space contact shadows. Vegetation, fur, hair. Screen space reflections.
The jitter can't be
Global
turned
illumination. Translucent materials.
off. Oh, wow. Look at
Cloud.
that. Not that. Look at her glasses. This is awful.
Clouds. Dithering to hide geometric camera clipping.
No way. No. No. How?
Mesh introductions. And ray trace reflections. Strip away TAA in several engines and these effects transform into an incomprehensible mess or reveal a poor approach to an aspect of rendering. These are
So it was never actually done right in the first place because they just assumed that they'd just smooth everything over in the end?
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
This is an AI video, bro? Well, I wish they used AI to make these games. They probably would have been better.
the supposed fixes and optimizations offered by temporal anti-aliasing
And also, I don't know if it is or
upscalers.
not. I mean, it's just a guy.
But an industry lie perpetuated by Digital Foundry's TAA
Yeah, look at that.
video is the claim that TAA and upscalers enable developers to optimize these effects by rendering them at lower resolutions, allowing TAA to smooth them with supposedly no cost. But if you do some digging, you'll discover older deferred titles from under a decade ago, rendering the same basic effects independently of temporal frame smearing with similar or better performance.
That's
and
one thing I've noticed. I feel like graphics kind of peaked in like 2014 to 2017. And we haven't really had like a huge breakthrough since then.
No, all we get is like these big reveals of like, look how our lighting has slightly changed. Look how it glows on this wall now. Look how the lighting passes through this window in Fortnite.
or similar better visual quality. And guess what? If you need extra performance
I noticed
from a
that playing
demanding
Metal Gear
feature,
Rising
that
Revengeance.
feature can be programmed to run at a lower resolution and or include its own temporal accumulation without blurring the entire frame. Modern implementations of last gen's basic visuals perform more poorly because studios leverage the power of next generation consoles to cut financial costs on legitimate optimization processes for faster releases. The financial savings don't end there though. TAA and upscalers enable studios to save money by integrating these popular and fully developed temporal algorithms into their engines instead of investing in the development of genuinely high-performing and self-resolving effects.
Because it's more expensive.
TAA, a large portion of rendering advancement papers tie in TAA or mention an upscaler such as DLSS
I had a
as
ladybug
required
on me.
condition to solve some issue with the design.
Oh my god.
Speaking of DLSS, people
So that is insane. Wake up, Neo? Yeah, this is upsetting, guys.
Wonder what Halo's gonna be like. Ha! That's why they're using the Unreal Engine. So they can turn down their costs. Gonna make the same game, it's just gonna be cheaper.
This is really upsetting. Where the hell does it? So you're telling me that they're saving money and they're still spending? Yeah, they're saving money and they're still spending over $100 million making these games. I feel like we have a problem here.
only label it better than
What's
native
this?
because DLSS is always compared to native with TAA applied.
Yeah.
Anything compared to the worst case scenario will appear improved.
Oh my god.
The so-called best TAA algorithms are needlessly expensive and brand specific.
Yeah.
First, I have a bone to pick with DLAA. DLAA uses too many pass frames for reconstruction, which causes two problems: long ghosting trails and significant blurring in motion compared to native with SMA.
Do you want to know what's so bad about this? Is that I actually thought with a couple of these games that it was a design choice. It was a stylistic choice. I didn't realize it was just the fucking graphics rendering being shitty. Yeah,
Stationary output. It also fails to smooth stair-stepping and motion compared to SMAA. Applying circus method with
So does Asmongold just go into a game, hit default settings, max settings, default, and then that's it? Because when I play a game, I tinker with the settings. I try and get it to look as good as I can, running as many frames as I can.
Newest DLL provides much better results, even though both examples are rendered at 1080p. But Circus Method isn't cheap. DLA at 1080p on a desktop 12GB 3060 costs 0.75 milliseconds. Circus Method bumps it up to 2.44 milliseconds. Image quality is far from poor, but its proprietary nature, cost, and Blue Moon AI mistakes makes it unreliable for the industry. XeSS 1.3 native AA mode suffers from the same problems as DLIA, but costs 1.44 milliseconds at 1080p on the same machine. Applying Circus Method gets image quality almost indistinguishable from Circus Method DLSS, but costs 4.6 milliseconds. Next is Unreal's TSR. It's a little more complex because it implements Circus Method natively, but I give it the fairest shot possible by using UE 5.4's more optimized implementation. It's easy.
Yeah, this is way worse. Like, you can't tell really with this image, but you can easily tell with this one. I just don't understand how it's so bad. And they spend so much money on it.
It's easy to appear.
I know, because the guys at the top want it done. They have no idea how to make games. They just want it done because they know it cuts costs. And cutting $15 here or there, why not do it? We can put that money into marketing. We can put that money into the microtransactions.
Here, superior to Unreal's TAA, but TSR suffers from a specific hazy fizzle appearance that video compression doesn't present well enough to pair with my criticism of that aspect. But besides whether or not you think it looks fine or not, the biggest issue again is the cost when set by the maximum quality settings for anti-aliasing. It puts TSR 10 times the cost of TAA and stands around 3 milliseconds on a 3060 at native 1080p. That's the difference between 60 FPS and 50 FPS.
Jesus.
Still not convinced it's too expensive? Let's look at the Decima TAA again from 2017.
Wait, this is the way it looks? Oh my god.
These are PS4
wow.
timings. And they didn't go with SMA because of the cost combined with temporal reprojection, so they went with sharpened FXA fallback for their 2-frame TAA instead. But what if they use SMA instead? We would get 0.36 milliseconds versus both unreasonable TSR timings. With such a low base cost, and these results at 30 FPS, if we wanted to keep AAA cost under 1 millisecond on modern affordable hardware, we could catapult the quality even further with 60 FPS and use that 0.73 milliseconds of headroom with aspects such as SMA or advanced motion vectors. Meanwhile,
I don't understand why they keep focusing on trying to make this like hyper realistic when the game plays at 30. I feel like if your game has to play at
that no AA, the no AA might look like worse. It doesn't really, but it looks more fragmented, but it runs better. You can tell it runs better. Use tricks to make the grass look better. Stop trying to just like, oh, well, I mean, we gotta make it look a certain way because it's bad, so we can use FXAA and TAA on it to smooth it over so it doesn't look as bad. Why not use tricks to make it look good? Make the grass thicker, more vibrant. Make everything more cartoonish. Not everything has to look photorealistic.
At 30 FPS, it's like real life isn't at 30 FPS. So at that point, like, what about that?
TSR was put under the same scenario on screen, I guarantee you it would look like its slime show even at 60 FPS.
Yeah.
These are TAA design requisites that must be combined to keep TAA computations costs low and stop it from producing the poor image quality we've settled for more than a decade now.
Yeah.
but effect dependency is preventing progress. Unreal has long been founded on this dependency, and still heavily does. UE5 is set to worsen this industry problem because it's going to dominate the production of titles coming this generation, and Epic and its partners like CD Projekt Red have no concern over this matter.
Yeah, because CD Projekt Red
goes so far to claim that FXAA results in a loss of fidelity compared to their temporal methods.
Yeah, they're
which
using Unreal
now is only a half-truth. They also
because it's like, I think about these like up-res cyberpunk videos, and none of them look like this.
Misleading information about TSR, presenting it as a method to achieve near 4K quality with just 1080p input. Of course, they showcase this with a stationary example.
Yeah.
In reality, 540p with sufficient temporal jitter and accumulation can resolve an 8K resolution image with a stationary camera. Out of context fairy tales like this are damaging game development.
Wow.
Another out-of-context narrative Epic Games is pushing is that Nanite has a faster way to render geometry and aims to eliminate the LOD pop-in association. Nanite does not increase performance unless you abuse your scene with extreme overdraw. I've compiled many tests on the specific Unreal forums thread that proves this. Nanite can cost as much as next-gen lighting, and pop-in will still remain a part of your gaming experience because shadows, skeletal meshes, foliage, and open-world partitions will still introduce pop.
And we know this from PAX Day. Because PAX Day had that same functionality.
Even Brian Karras has stated Nanite can have worse performance on optimized meshes, but stated users still enable it to save disk space. This comment is a perfect example showing Epic Games' flawed position on what modern games really need. It doesn't matter if your highly detailed open-world game is 100 megabytes, but can't perform at a decent resolution and frame rate.
Yeah.
Optimized meshes don't even require nanite compression. But studios who use nanite save themselves money by not investing in quality LODs. And not investing in mesh introduction transitional effects that would give you better results.
How ironic that the games are becoming more garbage and people are buying them less and less, and they're incorporating more and more microtransactions to alleviate that, and they're also charging more, which is causing more people to just not play them. So, in actuality, them doing this to make the games worse, to be cheaper, is killing them. Just put in the extra effort and the extra money to make it look actually good.
A good practice used on optimized game meshes is the use of bitmaps for subpixel detail.
Yeah, look at that.
A good practice.
You guys see this? Watch, it just literally appears out of nowhere.
A good practice used on optimized game meshes is the use of bitmaps for subpixel detail, such as the words on these quixel stones. Nanite encourages and is designed to render subpixel detail geometrically instead of textures, which causes extreme pixel crawl and artifacting, which you guessed it, can only be fixed by intense temporal frame smearing, creating a manufactured and limited scenario where flawed TAA appears as the better option. I understand the time and quality issues related to making good LODs, but Nanite is the worst solution to this problem. UE5 will dominate all other options because this engine excels in support. I'm talking asset packages formatted specifically for Unreal, hundreds of documentations, shared public content, overwhelming logic support. Epic Games provides hundreds of free, basic, but high-quality assets when you use Unreal. Every major third-party vendor with game-related software always prioritizes support for Unreal.
I hate video games
Unreal
now.
offers a unique amount of support for critical tools.
Now you hate video games? Now you hate video games? Bro, I've hated video games since 2016. I've hated video games.
For basic workflows like animation and debuggers. It's intuitive to use in comparison with competitor UI and programming designs. For studios, finding individuals to hire is made easy due to the widespread popularity and adoption of the engine. It's an advantage Unreal has acquired by simply existing as long as it has the way it has. That makes it the go-to for software and digital media. But the engine designs and its leadership should not be at the forefront of next-gen graphics development for critical reasons I'll outline right now. Epic provides 30 FPS presets in Unreal because they don't believe it's inadequate on 9th generation consoles. Look at Fortnite 5.4's performance. The design is CPU intensive, sure, but the art style is simplistic enough to, even with GI, it should provide a computational advantage. Yet it's one of the hardest games to run on the GPU side, even with a 60 FPS or high preset enabled.
Oh my god!
If this is the best performance offered by the engine's creators, of course it'll defend 30 FPS when basic realism or complex stylized visuals come into play. Epic has no experience making realistic games.
That's actually true.
Matrix Awakens is not a game. It's a visually exciting 30 FPS demo with enough motion blur to hide the 30 FPS screen judder. Consumers who didn't own a 9th generation console at the time...
So he's saying that, like, we thought we were living in a 60 FPS world, but we were in a 30 FPS world all along and we didn't even know it? Holy fuck, man.
Well, I already knew this because I don't play on these higher tier machines. I play on the lower tier machines. And when you get 60 and it says 60 and it'll be a flat rate 60, you'll be running around. Oh, good. You'll be running around and then it'll... You know what I mean? You get jitter and it has to catch up. And it does it all the time. And it's not that the frames are skipping, it's that it's getting slower and then it has to catch up.
Man, wake up. This is good, bro. I'm gonna be thinking about this for a while.
Saw the 60 FPS tag on the YouTube presentation and assumed that was the case. People who did experience the demo firsthand were given basic interaction through a locked aiming system that wouldn't expose the fluidity issues of 30 FPS. Epic has no problem abusing the flaws of their TAA or temporal upscalers such as DLSS for several effects I've shown throughout this video. Epic defaults their engine to rely on temporal smearing when very few TAA independent features remain undocumented and hidden behind loopholes most unsuspecting developers will never find.
I had no idea about any of this.
Heavy and blurry temporal upscaling as a viable solution on 9th generation consoles. And the biggest problem with Epic and their perspective on game development is that Fortnite drives their motivations for Unreal's development.
Of course.
Fortnite is a game with a very unique and uncommon problem the engine has to accommodate for. It's an open world map with a dynamic time of day and weather. This means real-time GPU calculations need to be computed per frame to account for those dynamic changes. What makes these calculations so much more expensive in Unreal is the fact that Fortnite's entire environment is destructible. This is why more realistic open worlds from 8th generation console titles have no problem with day or weather cycles even though they don't use light maps.
Yeah, it's like if I look at this game, there's none of that in that Metal Gear Solid.
Use light maps.
Holy shit.
Because their environment, or in other words, primary source of indirect lighting, is mostly static. These games use lighting solutions that bait small, memory-efficient indirect lighting hints that your GPU doesn't have to compute. This way, your GPU just calculates how these pre-computed hints correlate to the dynamic lights and shadows.
Yeah.
These lighting systems have their own limitations, but not a whole lot that can't be accelerated or overcome using 9th gen's hardware.
And like, here's a good example of this. Have you guys ever walked inside of a room in Unreal and the room is super dark, and then in like a minute it becomes bright?
Yep.
I wonder if that's related to this.
Probably.
Potential. Fortnite's GI, which is Unreal's Lumen, can't let developers with the common environmental properties bake any high-quality indirect lighting hints that save you performance. Unreal's light maps are uninterpolatable and have serious leaking problems that can only be mitigated with stupid amounts of VRAM memory. So many Unreal games are wasting performance for basic visual standards because your GPU is computer whether or not a Fortnite wall has been destroyed or what that wall looked like, etc. Lumen is noisy without TAA because it isn't designed to use stable or high-quality indirect lighting hints. So top that inefficiency off in games with other Epic game technologies like Nanite, Virtual Shadow Maps, and TSR, and we're left with games
they are paying to be efficiently inefficient.
Created faster than ever, and as inefficient and as terrible in motion as ever. When this happens over and over again, it standardizes, which is why other studios are following these inefficient designs for their mostly static games that could use faster systems.
And so I think that...
Not only that, they're all starting to look the same because they're all using the same engine.
I don't know what to say. Like, I think that the problem is that it creates... I think what he's trying to argue, I'm not sure because I don't really have like a background in this. I think what he's trying to argue is that the end result of this type of cost cutting is a worse product, even though for a lot of average users, they probably don't care.
Epic Games' indifference towards underperforming
He's saying devs are lazy? Yeah.
Third-party Unreal games.
I think.
Is this
Devs are lazy. Also, the gamers are lazy because they just want to experience their game. They don't care if it looks bad in some areas. They don't notice it a lot of times until they do. Until it gets out of hand. It happens all the time. Nobody cares about a thing when we're all screaming into the void until it's too late. And we're like, well, I've been telling you this whole time it's going to get bad, and it got bad. And it's not even to the breaking point yet. Nowhere close. We're just now starting to get regular people starting to talk about this kind of stuff. Like everybody using Unreal Engine, and it's making everything look the same. My buddy, who is like, he is those types of people that just don't know, don't care, plays the game, doesn't care that some of these graphics look bad in some areas, and he's starting to notice that everything is looking like Unreal Engine. Everything's looking like Fortnite.
The statement that big budget studios should be customizing Unreal source code to provide more appropriate designs for their titles. True, but it's almost a catch-22. If a studio decides to use Unreal, it shows they lack the funding, interest, and/or innovation to manage the graphics themselves. This is exactly what happens when established studios throw out proprietary engines in favor of what Unreal offers.
Yeah, this is what I think. Anytime anybody uses Unreal, I'm just like, oh, so you weren't talented enough to use something else or make your own thing. You got to use what everybody else is using because it's easy.
What?
I have one more problem with Epic that I need to cover.
What?
Unreal is used for the automotive, film, simulation, and construction industries. That wouldn't be a problem if Epic wasn't constantly accounting for this user base and modeling Unreal with algorithms not meant for consumer-efficient real-time rendering.
That's
Amidst
true.
of these issues, I gave Epic the benefit of the doubt and made a feedback thread on the Unreal developer forums 12 months ago, requesting the prioritization of game development and a larger focus on temporal smearing independence within their various effects. In only 11 months, it was voted as the #1 feedback from developers, replacing the previous #1 feedback thread made 3 years ago. Epic released several Unreal versions, including nothing pertaining to the thread's request, despite a solid number of educated developers ready to progress beyond Epic's limited vision for this generation of gaming.
Jesus.
This studio was created to begin the production of an intense
Well, people use Unreal for all kinds of things. Like for architecture renderings and all kinds of other things too. Yeah, he rallied the devs. Yeah, this is insane.
Based on a new IP consisting over 700 pages of detailed story and scenarios. Our game is conventional due to only requiring a mostly static world with dynamic lights, making our goals much more relevant to many developers and gamers.
Yeah.
We have paused the production of our game, so our unrivaled passion for motion clarity and performance standards for untainted photorealism can be met, which is why our solution is to create a custom Unreal via crowdfunding with custom systems.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of these games that are using Unreal, when they come out, they've got performance issues. So what's the point? What's the point of doing all of things to fix your performance if it's not fixing the fucking performance? Like, what's the point?
Systems that directly address the giant issues stated in this video. Don't think a custom Unreal Engine will have an impact on developers? Take the finals for example. It performs so much better than other UE5 games, people defend Epic's UE5 and solely blame studios for any worse performing titles.
Yeah,
but the finals' extreme destructive nature made using Nanite and the associated virtual shadow maps impossible. And most people don't know that the finals uses NVIDIA's custom UE5 branch to make use of its lower quality but much faster dynamic GI, DDGI, instead of Epic's Lumen. The finals performance doesn't contradict our views on Epic's Unreal. It only proves our point. NVIDIA's custom UE5 branch is exactly how we want to execute ours. But as of now, we need funding to motivate and hire skilled graphic programmers. Our engine will always be accessible for review and use under Epic's GitHub restrictions. Unlike industry leaders, we do not believe the future of graphics is dependent on blurry or expensive temporal smearing.
I feel like that's the case, yeah, because they do.
Let's just go back to polygons. I don't care. I'm tired of all of these companies just trying to cut corners, cut costs to make everything look better, everything look smoother. Just dumb down the graphics a little bit. They don't have to be photorealistic in every game. And I say it all the time. If every game looks like real life, then every game is the same. I don't want to watch a bunch of stuff that's the same. I don't want to play a bunch of stuff that's the same. I play different games to get different experiences.
So blurry.
That future is only possible
Holy
if
shit.
you care enough and support our vision for
There's
modern
exactly
graphics.
zero dumbing down in this video. Yeah, like, I'll be real. Like, as somebody who doesn't come from a design background, a lot of this stuff went over my head. Like, I can understand the visual differences, and I get, like, kind of what he's talking about, but a lot of it, I don't understand this, because I don't have a lot of, like, I don't have any background in this.
I only understand it a little bit more because I've looked into game development and I've watched a lot of videos on using Unreal Engine 4. I don't know much about Unreal Engine 5. I figure that it's not that much different. Just a lot more accessibility and tools added on. So I know a little bit. Not much.
So sponsors, investors,
I'm more of a Godot kind of guy.
we're ready to begin if we've convinced you. Threat Interactive, my studio, will be giving more details about how we intend to execute our plan in our next video. Until then, thank you for watching this one. And please like and subscribe to our channel and share this message on your favorite Discord server, subreddit, and social media so we can start elevating the future of gaming standards together.
Holy fuck. I'll link you guys his video. I'll give him a sub and give him a like. Yeah, here, you can subscribe to him right now. W video, yeah. Glad you're putting light on this. I had no idea about any of this, man.
I'm glad I clicked on this video because, like, I knew a little bit about it and I've been complaining about it for a while.
Yeah, please share. There's the video. Give it a like. Give him a sub. Threat Interactive. And dynamic lighting was better 9 years ago. What? I don't even know what to say. That's ridiculous.
That video was insane. That video was absolutely insane, and it's true. Like, the enshittification of video games because they want to cut corners, cut costs, and that taking the easy way out, and we're getting worse games for it. We're paying for it. We're paying for this. We're paying full price for them to cut corners and make our games look worse. Paying even more than we used to. They charged us $10 extra for each video game. Base price, by the way. Base price. $10 extra, and graphics are looking worse than it did a decade ago. But make matters worse, you don't even get the full experience anymore for $70. You got to pay $100 to get the full experience. And that's just like the full regular experience. That doesn't include the future expansions that they may have beyond that. I'm done with gaming. I've been done with gaming. If you're a fan of this channel, you know that I've been done with gaming, as in the gaming sphere. I mostly stick to older games, or like new games that are in the style of older games, such as Resident Evil 4 Remake and things of the like. Dark Souls, Elden Ring. Those are like the newer games that I like. Not Dark Souls. Dark Souls is older. I haven't actually played Dark Souls, but I know that I would very much enjoy it once I got into it. I haven't played Elden Ring either, but I've played Sekiro, and I have played Bloodborne. I beat Bloodborne. I did not beat Sekiro. That game was too hard. Maybe someday. I was a little young when I played that one. I'm better at video games now than I was back then, because I have more patience.